roughly sketch the following functions. We're going to start by putting in some axes here. And the first function a, where we're going to start by graphing the absolute value of x. And that graph looks like this. And then if we take a look at what we have the coefficient in front of the absolute value being 2. So it's larger than 0, which means that there will be no reflection about the x-axis. So it'll the function will still open up like this. So the second graph we're going to sketch out is 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3. Put in another pair of axes. And subtracting 3 from the variable means that we are translating to the right by 3 units. So we are translating to the right by 3 units. So it's going to be like this, and this is 3. And then finally we are subtracting 8, so 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3 minus 8. So that means that we are now translating 8 units down. So we are here at x equals 3, and we're going to down here to y equals negative 8. So the coordinates of this point here is going to be 3 and negative 8. Let's look at B. So in B, we're going to start by graphing the cubic function y equals x cubed. That looks like this. Then there is a negative sign in front of x cubed. And that means that we're going to reflect this about the x-axis. We're going to reflect this function about the x-axis, so it's going to look like that. And then finally we add 5, which means that we're going to translate it 5 units up. So we're going to have y equals negative x cubed plus 5. So we're going to translate it up by 5 units. So it's going to look something like that, as the y-intercept here is 5. Let's look at C. So the function in C was y equals negative 1 over x plus 6. And we're going to start by graphing or sketching out y equals 1 over x. And that looks like as follows. We have vertical and horizontal asymptotes. The next graph here is going to be the negative sign in front of the quotient. Negative 1 over x, which means that we reflect it about the x-axis. So that means it's going to look like that. Oops. And then finally we're adding 6 to the x, which means we're translating the graph 6 units to the left. So now we're going to have our vertical asymptote at x equals -6, like so. Nope, that's the wrong one. Like this. And then finally d. This function was y equals square root of 7 minus x. Now we can rewrite this in a slightly different form. We can rewrite this as negative. We want to have the x in front of the numerical coefficient, numerical constant 7. So it's going to be x minus 7. And we see that there's a leading negative sign, which means that this is going to be this graph is going to be reflected about the x-axis. So let's start by graphing y equals square root of x. Put in our axes. So the graph y equals square root of x looks something like this. Okay. And then we have the negative x. So y equals square root of negative x. So this means that we're going to reflect this about the y-axis. I think I said x-axis before, but it's the y-axis. So it's going to be like this, reflected about the y-axis. And then finally we are subtracting 7 like that, and this will translate this graph 7 units to the right. So instead of starting here, we're moving 7 units to the right. It's going to start over here, and it's going to look like that.